Chapter 2. Come on, it'll be fun, Nishinoya pleaded. Plus, you guys trained way too hard yesterday and you need to take a break. Please, just one more. Kageyama and Hinata yelled in unison, the pair each clutching a volleyball like a lifetime. I actually think we should go see his sister's game, Sugawara said, backing up the libero and already tossing balls back into the basket like an NBA player. Tennis has a lot of strategy that can be used in volleyball, and I've heard that Yumi is in the top division. That's right, you used to play, didn't you? Azumane recalled, tugging at his messy brown hair. Sugawara turned away, a shadow over his eyes. I used to. All right. Sugawara and Nishinoya both have good points, Kaichukai called, settling the argument. Let's all go together, after you clean the floors. What grade is your sister in? The setter asked Nishinoya as they wiped down the floors. She's a third year, like you and Asahi, but apparently she's playing this team of all first years that have convincingly won every single match, with only a few more to go until the semis. The shorter boy explained. They're from a school called Kageyama? Dropping the mop on the floor with a loud thud, everyone turned to look at Sugawara, who stared at nothing with his fists clenched tightly. Suga, are you alright? Daichi asked. He shook his head to clear himself from the emotional reverie, pointing at Kageyama. Come on, I want to teach you some of the plays our third years know on the walk there. Evidently confused by his senpai's behavior, Kageyama followed the silver-haired boy down to the tennis courts, both of them tossing a ball between them as they spoke strategy. Oh, hey. The younger setter pointed down to one of the hard courts, at a hair-colored girl who was speaking to a blonde one. Is she from Kageyama? I saw her earlier, and I was wondering who she was. Sugawara followed his eyeline and flinched rather violently. She's their tennis equivalent of, you, actually. She's an incredibly gifted player, but I heard that she doesn't play doubles very well. As they came to a stop at the stands and Nishinoya yelled at his older sister, that hair-colored girl looked upwards, catching first Kageyama's eye with a chilling edge of strategy in her gaze, then panning to Sugawara and freezing, some color leaching from her skin-color skin. Sugawara waved timidly at her as she turned away, running to the baseline as Yumi bounced a ball downward from her racket, preparing to serve. The ball flew incredibly quickly toward the first year, but she whipped it back with such speed and spin, everyone in the stands made a noise of amazement as it landed perfectly on the line before the cross-no player could even touch it. Love! Her eyes found Kageyama's. 15. She moved to the other half of the court, leaving the Crossno Volleyball Club dumbfounded at her incredible return. However, the king of the court wasn't wholly focused on her technique, still staring at her and thinking of the 3 times now that they'd made eye contact. He turned to Sugawara and whispered, Who is she? Wayan seethed with a confusing mixture of feeling as she smacked the ball down the court, watching the Crossno players struggle to get it. Sugawara showing up to the match. She tried to forget the memory of his evident emotional turbulence as he had waved at her, and also her distracting wonder about who the boy beside him had been, who she had heard people call a genius. Technically, it was his school, and she knew she was being immature by still being hurt over something from 3 years earlier. But some wounds healed and some scarred. and scars are impossible to forget. Hwayeon lunged for a backhand, skidding to the left as she barely managed to flick it over the net. Though she was undoubtedly a good player, so was Nishinoya Yumi, and despite the odds being highly in Kageyama's favor, there could definitely be some struggle ahead. But then again, Karasuno hadn't gone up against her strongest attack yet. As Hwayeon hit a deep shot, a few centimeters short of the baseline itself, she ran forwards, expecting a weak attack from Yumi, who stood in the backhand corner, ready to hit the ball. This was the shot that Suga had worked her so hard to get perfect, and she knew he knew it. Up in the stands, Sugawara elbowed Kageyama, pointing to Hwayeon and the ball that was fast approaching where she stood a foot back from the net. Watch what she does. As Yumi's ball came back, Hwayeon intercepted it as a volley. With a lightning flick of her wrist, the ball shot down to the other side of the court, with her brunette's opponent realizing too late to chase after it. "That was like my quick!" Hinata pointed out excitedly, wishing he could have slowed down the moment. "It was a pretty good shot," Kageyama admitted as Hwayeon called game and began to walk to the other side of the net. "There is the strategy we need," continued Sugawara, throwing and catching the volleyball as he fought for the words to explain. "I guess it's like tennis players are instinctively taught this a lot more than volleyball players, but you need to aim for space rather than people, which is what Hwayeon just did. She saw that Yumi was on the opposite side of the court, so she directed it straight down the line." "Hwayeon?" Repeating the name, Kageyama tapped his chin thoughtfully. "Do you know her?" Sugawara hesitated, staring down at his feet with his face scrunched as though trying to stop himself from crying. "I did." I apologize to everyone for the background noise, which would include the wind, my freaking blinds. The wind is howling. When I say howling, I'm like, also my mom, I have to go, so I'm gonna go edit this later. Anyways, I apologize for the background noise. Have a good morning, have a good night, have a good afternoon, whenever you are, and I'll see you tomorrow with chapter 3. Bye everyone!